George Kay,
Here.
Srinivasa Chalikanda, Genevieve Corsi. Here. James Hennessy,
Present.
Michael Kelly, Toby Lewis, William Novak, Renee Powell, Miguel Perano, Mitchell Marks,
Here.
Kristen Kozakowski, Braden McNull, Erica Evans, and Beth Essman.
Do we now? It just seems so sparse. Okay, good. I'd like a motion for the minutes for last meeting. Motion made by James and anyone?
Second.
Seconded by James. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there anyone here for public input? Is there anyone here for public input? Is there anyone here for public input? Seeing none, report from Erica. Did she send in a note of any sort? Okay, okay. No report from Councillor Evans. Report of the Board of Education.
Thank you. Good evening. So the report for tonight is just that enrollment is up at all of our schools compared with last year.
Close to the mic.
So as of October 1st, we now have just over 5,000 students in the district. Through K through 5, that's up 46 students from last year, and middle school, that's up 35 from last year, and high school, it's up 53 from last year. Additionally, the Board of Ed is discussing a plan to improve our high school campus and increase recreational assets to the community. This will include a lighted field, new tennis courts, pickleball courts, and an improved traffic pattern at the high school. I don't know if anyone's driven past the high school in the morning or the afternoon, but with the rising enrollment of students, it's certainly becoming more concerning there with traffic. So definitely need a plan there. Any questions?
Any questions for? Thank you, Ms. Sussman. Report of Open Space Task Force.
We haven't had a meeting since our last meeting, so
Okay.
we don't
nothing
meet
report.
until whatever the second Monday is.
Okay. Thank you. Reports from Parks and Rec Director.
All right, good evening. Happy November 1st. So we have a lot going on right now as we're really transitioning to winter programs, and we are already thinking about our summer programs, crazy as it seems. It's weird to say it. We were talking about spring and summer programming earlier, and I was just like, we just got out of it, but it's the motion of recreation. But to start out, I just really wanted to make the formal announcement that we received $1.2 million in bond funding, yes, for the construction of Phase 1A for the Crosstown Trail. We're very excited about it. We've put a lot of time, community engagement efforts, just to kind of make this project come to fruition. And we've done like site walkthroughs, I mean, since I've started here about 3 years ago. So it's really exciting that we finally got funding for the start of this project. And we are excited to hit the ground running to make this first portion happen. The rest of the phases, we are still working on the design for that. So once we're able to solidify the whole plans for Phase 2 and Phase 3. Phase 1B is pretty much already designed out as well. We're going to be able to continue the process of, community engagement, talking about where that trail alignment's going, working with Eversource to get permissions about the easements, and really just trying to see what the community wants out of this trail. Hopefully this trail won't cost us more than a couple more $1 million. I don't know what the cost is going to look like in 2 to 3 years, but this phase 1A was supposed to be the most expensive phase, so we're really excited that we're getting this piece out of the way. So that's excitement on the Walk and Wheelways end. And then in terms of our program updates, we just have a lot going on between, we're starting to do a lot of open gym. So we have open volleyball going on, pickleball. We just started open basketball tonight, actually. So we're doing a little bit over at Ellsworth, and we're going to be doing some more throughout the town. We have adult basketball that's starting to have their open time as well over at the high school. So we're kind of just trying to give opportunities for individuals in the community to have a free space to play, and throw balls back at our facility as well. We're excited for that. We do have a girls' clinic coming up for basketball, so we're in full speed with basketball. Our numbers are slightly increased for girls for the first time in a while for basketball, but we're hoping with the clinic this upcoming weekend. We have a post on our social media if anyone is interested, but we're hoping that we can get further engagement for that league. And speaking of that, we have more basketball drafts and stuff coming up in December, and we will have a coaches training in a couple weeks as well to prep for the season, so it's similar to last year. We're really excited for that program to kind of kick off. And then we also just finished up our pickleball league. We had 50 participants. We're really talking about the continued development of our league in the spring, so doing some more lessons, league, and then another tournament as well. So we're making plans for that. We just finished our fall cornhole league. We had 24 people in the fall league. They really wanted it, and most of them played this summer, so we just kind of extended it out, made a new session. It's become a very popular thing for those individuals, and we're looking at shifting the night to try to get some more engagement from other leagues that are currently busy playing on those nights. Our adult volleyball league is running 2 nights a week over at TE. Through March, we have always, a full league. We're one of the biggest leagues in Connecticut. It's very competitive, but they do run a pretty long season, so we're excited to have that up and running. And then we pretty much, it's just kind of a bunch of different contracted programs that we're doing as well. I do want to note and thank you to all of the individuals that participated in the farmers market this season. We ended on October 7th. Please consider continuing to support the small local businesses that are our vendors throughout the season. We have the holiday season coming up, so we always post who our vendors are on our Facebook page. So if you're interested, please look at that and support them. We did this fall do the pumpkin roll, so we did that on October 14th. It was not the best weather, but it wasn't the worst weather. We had about 220 participants that attended it, and we had about the furthest distance up to 310 feet, the pumpkin roll. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so it was cool. And then multiple heats, and they had prizes to local establishments. We had Dude's Donuts, and we also had Broadbrook Brewery, and we had Imperial Oil sponsor that one. We did attempt to do the torch walk, but unfortunately it got rained out. There was a lot of volunteer efforts that went into that, and a lot of planning and logistics between parks, recreation, police. So it was unfortunate that it got rained out. So we're hoping for next year for better weather. I think that's kind of the theme of this year between events, athletics, everything is just rain. So that is something that we're looking forward to running next year. And then we did host a Halloween movie at Evergreen Walk on October 6th, and we featured the movie Scoob. We had Scooby-Doo trivia and Scooby snacks. We had about 75 families there, which was fun. And then in terms of preschool, we are finishing up session A, and that was pretty much full. So now we're looking into session B. and session B will run mid-November through January. So we still have some open spaces on that program, but it's been going really well with that. And then fourth R as well, we've been having a really good start to the school year so far. We did just host our annual fall family night for fourth R at Foster Family Farms, which we're really thankful for that partnership. We had 325 participants and family members come to that. That was one of the few fair weather events that we did have. And lastly, we are looking into continuing to further open up the ski and snowboard club. So right now it's full. We have a 40-person wait list. We are looking at the potential of adding another bus if that is feasible. So it's a very popular program. So we're looking forward to that starting and kicking off once the snow decides to come. And then I do know, we have a lot of big projects coming up now that it's going to be the holidays. We have the Turkey Trot November 18th, I believe, is the Saturday. I always confuse the 17th and 18th, but it's the 18th. So we'll have the Turkey Trot. We're going to be having donations for a food drive. And then we will be kicking off the Letters to Santa, the Merry and Bright. We will have a skating event, and I believe a couple of meet me at the park kind of events as well. So it's about to be busy but fun. And then I know John will have some updates as well.
Any questions for Molly? Okay. Jenny?
For the Crosstown Trail, congratulations. This is exciting to get this started. There's going to be other opportunities. I'm assuming you're going to continue looking for grant opportunities and state funding opportunities. So this is an ongoing consideration to be able to cover the cost for that, right?
Yeah, so we got the CT Trails grant back prior to me starting in this position. So it was about 2020 when we were first awarded the grant for the design. And then since then, we've applied for a few more grants through the CT Trails grant. And they had said once we have a solidified shovel ready, they'd be willing to consider us again for further grants. So
nice.
Thankfully now that we're getting that state bond funding, hopefully that'll kickstart to be able to get some further funding through the Trails grant. So I do actively apply to those, and hopefully we'll get some additional funding from it.
Awesome. I know in the past we've done a holiday farmers market type thing with some of our vendors. Is that something we've been able to?
So this year we weren't able to do that just due to the location, and we didn't have really a great layout. Wapping was a little bit different because you could we had the gym and the cafeteria next to each other, so it kind of gave two big spaces. Our layout now, we only have that one cafeteria or the gym that you could potentially use if we don't have a program, which we often will have basketball because we have the growing Mighty Mites program. And the hallway is too narrow, unfortunately. So just the layout, we weren't able to do it. Plus, I know Jenny, when she ran it a few times, we didn't have as many vendors that were able to kind of do it. So we teetered with the idea of even hosting a smaller one. It just wasn't feasible. So that's why we're trying to encourage to shop local.
Yeah, no, I think that's great to highlight our vendors, even when they're not actively at our farmers market. And then I was just curious because there's been all of this talk about flag football coming to the Olympics. Has this been a discussion at all or come up?
So our athletics supervisor has brought up flag football as a potential. I know there's some contracted camps that are sport camps. I don't know if we would start a league per se right now. Maybe if everyone came and we're like, hey, we want to try it, I'm sure we could take a stab at it.
I didn't think we were going to have a cornhole league either.
I know. But so I know we talked about doing it for a contracted camp. So Skyhawks has a lot of our sport camps, and they do a variety of things. So
Cool.
I'm not sure where we're at with that, but I do know he has mentioned it in the past.
Okay,
So
I just figure we're probably going to start seeing more interest.
I'm sure there's actually a few new sports coming to the Olympics, so it'll be nice, or returning, I should say. So it'll be nice to see what that uptick is and what that interest will play out to be.
Thank you.
Any other questions? John?
Good evening, everyone.
Start with the fall soccer tournament that we had this past weekend, where there were 1,644 registered players and an estimated 5,000 people at the park over the two-day event. We didn't have the best weather, but the fields actually fared a little bit better than I thought they were, as I didn't sleep much Saturday or Saturday night. But it did work out pretty well. The parking lot took a little bit of a beating, but that's just more from car traffic. But the fields themselves held up actually extremely well compared to like what we were saying, like I thought they were going to hold up. We've winterized all of our irrigation systems throughout town and all the buildings that have irrigation systems in them. We've attended to all the gardens around town, the landscapes, and we've made some fall decorations around town, if you've seen those. To keep the weed pressures down, because we take a more organic approach to our fields, we try not to use pesticides whenever we don't have to. So one of the things that we've had a big push over the years has been to overseed. We put down approximately, I'm going to say close to 5,000 pounds of seed between the athletic fields, the town halls, the fire departments, and the other buildings like that, and some of the Board of Ed facilities also. And now the crew, like Molly said, we did get everything ready for the torch walk, but unfortunately it was canceled because of weather. The one thing that did come out of it that was good is there is a new trail that cuts across an open field, and it's a nice little walk and comes out from behind the old barn that's there. Like Molly said, we did get Porter's Hill ready for the pumpkin roll, and if you go by it, you can still see what's left of the giant stencil that we put on the hill. Football also had their tournament. Actually, soccer's was 2 weeks ago. Football's was last weekend. Well, they actually had Saturday Night Lights is what they called it, and it was a huge success for them. The weather was actually beautiful. We did paint all the fields in pink, and we have painted all of our fields in pink every October for probably the last 8 or 10 years now. Football's big on that. We put a giant ribbon at the end of the end zone for them and paint that pink. And right now, most of the crew's working on with the LEAF program that just started Monday, and that'll go through November and hopefully end near the first or mid part of December. Hopefully we don't get a ton of snow, but the weather has not been the best weather for sports or outdoor activities almost this last 2 months, it seems. And I got to give the crew a big round of applause from me, because they've done a great job keeping up with things and making things safe for the kids to play and doing our best to keep them open. We've had one of the gentlemen on the crew, Steve, he's been out aerating every day for probably a month now. And that helps the moisture to get through the soil, opens the soil up a little bit better. So I think that's it, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for John? I think you do such a great job with your teams. You guys, I'm so grateful that Parks and Rec you guys are fabulous. Thank you.
Thank you. Molly just reminded me, we do have some new employees. We have Spencer Rickey just started with us last Monday, I believe. And we have another person, Mike Driscoll, retired. He's been here since 2005. He just recently retired. And we have another gentleman, Bo Bailey, will be starting November 6th. So we will be up to full staff.
Thank you. Are there any, I don't have any discussions for topics. Does anyone have something they'd like to bring up? Go ahead.
John and I met last month at Lawrence Road Park with a couple of his crew and a few other guys for just to do a prelim walk around for to design a disc golf course. So we just did a preliminary walk. I'm going to meet with the guy sometime this month, and we're going to do another walkthrough. And hopefully, either December or January meeting, I'll have a final draw of the disc golf.
Over at Willowbrook?
Lawrence Road Park.
Lawrence Road, oh, okay, yeah.
It's, it is a goal of ours, and it's in our master plan for the disc golf, so I think it'll be a win as we can then continue to follow our master plan. It also will help us diversify park use, which is going to be a huge thing for us, to be able to have people go out and explore other parks in town.
One of the things when we were out at Lawrence Road, and I thought it was a setup, but we were out there getting ready to walk it, and there was a young lady out there with discs, and she was throwing them. Like, did you hire someone to come out here and throw these things? Because there's no baskets or anything, but she was just practicing her long throw and then a short throw, and she would hit a target every once in a while, and a couple of the guys had brought their discs with them, and I didn't know there was like he had a huge bag of discs, and then they all do different things. So, I mean, it looks like a pretty interesting sport. It looks like I could even handle it, unless a little shoulder injury or something, but.
So I talked with some neighbors over by that park on Lawrence, and I know in the past we've had some trouble with trying to do things and do some cleanup there with the trees and stuff like that. And they said the concern is just about the pesticides and whatever we use to kill things. And so.
We've never applied any pesticides to Lawrence Road Park, ever.
Right, so oftentimes communication's the problem, and so we need to communicate with them when we want to do stuff.
And it was written a long time ago that the pesticide use was the original plan was, and this was before me, was to clear cut the entire property, grub it, and then completely coat it with a pesticide to kill everything that's there. That is not our plan. That is not what our plan has ever been. We do have some serious issues with poison ivy through there. Kids getting poison ivy, dogs bringing it home, the owners getting poison ivy from the dogs because the oil carries. We are allowed to spray for maintenance. One of the products that we're going to try and avoid there is glyphosate if we ever do, but we have not done anything to date other than manually remove the poison ivy from around the trees and the bittersweet. But it is a tough task.
Yeah, it is. Stay clear from me when you do that. Yeah. With regard to other business, it looks like there's a road. Go ahead.
We
More?
still have other, where are we?
We're down here.
Discussion topics. I was just wanting to see if there was any update on the facility and our meeting with PBC and kind of where that progress was.
Great point to do that.
Yes, so myself and the town manager received an email a few weeks back from the chair of PBC to attend a meeting on November 14th at, I believe, 6:30 p.m., and I will be happy to share that information with you. They basically wanted us to come in and talk about the history of it from the standpoint of the last committee, some of our, needs as a program, as a department, and kind of have that starting discussion. I do know that they had a meeting earlier this month. I'm not sure exactly what was said or how much it was discussed, so I believe the preliminary discussion has been started, so we will be meeting on November 14th to further start that conversation. Because again, we do have that timeline of June to present to the council. So I'm hoping once we can get that conversation started, we can get some action moving forward towards a game plan.
Okay, and so that's a special meeting, that's not like the regular PBC meeting,
Correct.
right? Okay.
Yeah.
And you said that was the 14th, okay. And I think at the last meeting, we had talked about like the options that were being presented to the PBC with, at least with the presentations that we had looked through.
Right, the Collier plan.
Yes, were there any additions to those ideas or any other possibilities that had been discussed, or I just didn't know if we were adding to those or if that was still kind of.
Not to my knowledge, we haven't added any. We haven't brought up any here.
Okay.
Yes, certainly if there's any recommendations that I can bring forth, I'd be happy to, pass that on as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Molly and I took a pretty good look at our lists of properties and locations, and we didn't really find anything that was, there's other things, but they're not for sale at this time, but we didn't really find another property that would be better than the three that are proposed now.
I do want to note, so I attended with a few of my staff last Thursday a Connecticut Rec and Park Quarterly that was, it had a few portions to the training, but one of them was an ADA and Park and Recreation, so it included like ADA law, but also Park and Rec facilities and park design as well, in terms of ADA. And they had a few speakers that attended. I'd love to share the slideshow. I'd have to scan it in, and you'd have to excuse my notes on the slideshow. However, it was a really great conversation. They had someone named Robin Keller who came in and talked about park design, specifically with ADA. They also had QA&M Architect that came in. He does a lot of ADA work in the state of Connecticut for park and rec facilities. So he came in and talked about a few of his projects. So they've done facilities in Willimantic, Rocky Hill, North Branford, Stonington, Bloomfield, and essentially just talked about different design elements that they put into place. And the message that overarched the whole entire presentation was accessibility in your facility is a philosophy, and it's important to provide access even when it's not required by code. And he pretty much was saying, do more, like be better than the code. Because when you follow just code, although like money and financials are a big piece of that, right? If you follow just code, then you're not actually being inclusive to everyone in the community, and you're not necessarily thoughtfully designing something. So it was just so interesting to hear the different portions that he creatively came up with designing, whether it was a different reception desk that was more inclusive, the whole bathroom concept, just making it more inviting. And he was, like, for example, he said, why just do one accessible stall? Why don't you just make all of them accessible? Because he said, don't lie, we all use the accessible stalls. And he goes, so we should probably just make all of them. And he goes, just don't make one that's an outlier because it's the code. Same with water fountains, same with multi-purpose rooms. He was just like, make rooms that have multiple purposes to them, that you can use them for multiple programs that have the accessibility aspects to them. So it was just a really interesting presentation, and I took a lot of notes on it. Definitely am interested in looking into the facilities a little bit and talking to the directors about how they made that happen, the funding, because a lot of them weren't funded through like bonds and taxpayers. They're also funded through donations and grants. So it's just going to be really interesting to open up that conversation and talk about how other towns did it and kind of hear what their community members are saying now. Like, do you have more people utilizing that facility because it's more accessible? So it was a really thought-provoking presentation, and I'd love to share it with you. Again, mind my handwriting and the notes on there, but I think it's a really good thing as we go forward and look at other options of whether it's a new facility, refurbishing a facility, like what can we do to be more inclusive.
Thank you. Could you describe for us your resolution on here, on number 11?
Yes, so when we applied for that original grant to get the design of the crosstown trails back before my time, so 2018 to 2020, I think the conversations were had about the concept, the idea. But the Park and Rec Commission back then approved of some funding along with capital projects to help with the gap of the crosstown trails because it aligned with our master plan. So we have been having money sitting in the master plan account since we got the grant. So now we need permission to essentially move it from our master plan account into the crosstown trail capital project account. So that way we can utilize the rest of the money for the design grant.
Is there a motion for that? Would you state the motion, please?
A motion to transfer a total of $35,000 from the park master plan account into the Crosstown Trail capital project account.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same side. Motion carries. Thank you. What happened to the interest on the money? Of course, these days, interest was it maybe $10? Is it crazy? Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that one.
Well, there is another motion I would entertain.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's adjourned. We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.